Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode on the Horn Politics, where we're going to ask and answer the question, why now? Uh, in the last couple of years, there has been violence inflicted on Eritrean communities of the diaspora across the world. I'm here with Marta Tesfa Mikael and Feven Yamane. Let me give you the opportunity to briefly introduce yourselves. Uh, Martha or Feven?
You're on mute, Martha.
Of course I am. I would like to introduce myself as a proud member of the mighty Eritrean diaspora. I was born in Germany and I grew up here. And yes, I'm just one of many proud members of the Eritrean diaspora. That's it.
That's nice. I'm Feven Yamane. I'm based in UK, raised in UK, a Londoner, and I'm a lawyer by trade. I keep saying it's a trade, not a profession, because like everything else, it is, it is a trade. So that's who I am. And I'm a proud member of the British Eritrean community, which is long-standing here in the UK for many years. It's been at the centre of, organising, helping to build a strong community during the independence struggle and post the independence struggle. So I've inherited a lot of history from the British Eritrean community here in terms of what they've done, what they've established, who they are. Which has always been closely tied to Eritrea. So, that's who I am.
I guess I'll also briefly introduce myself. My name is Rahel Waldat Sabhatu. I was born and spent most of my childhood in the diaspora, but at the age of 16, I moved to Eritrea. So when I say, when people ask me where did I grow up, I say I grew up in Eritrea. At least my formative years were there. I currently reside in Sweden, and I am definitely a proud member of the Eritrean Swedish diaspora community, as well as the global Eritrean diaspora community. On that note, I want to wish the two of you a very happy International Women's Day. As maybe most of our viewers know, International Women's Day is actually a national holiday in Eritrea. Where, yes, people do not go to work. They use the day to appreciate and celebrate the achievements of Eritrean women. More than 30% of them participated in the liberation struggle. And after independence, they continue to work diligently to develop their country. So a happy day for us. Maybe it's not by coincidence. This is an all-women panel. I want to start off our conversation with actually it was a media conference that took place a couple of weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, and in Canada, in the district of Waterloo. So let me just play this.
And Staff Sergeant Jarrett Brown from our Emergency Response Team. The purpose of today's media availability is to provide clarity regarding the event of this past Saturday evening. On Saturday, February 24th, 2024 at 7 p.m., Waterloo Regional Police Service responded to a violent disruption that occurred in the area of Sean Station Road and Victoria Street North in Willett Township, involving two conflicts within the Eritrean community. In addition to the information we've already provided, I want to walk you through the event in more detail. At approximately 3:50 p.m. on February 24th, our service received information that a planned event involving members of the Eritrean community was being held at a location near Dearborn Place in Waterloo. We were advised that upwards of 500 individuals would be attending to disrupt and protest the event. Officers attended the Dearborn Place location and encountered a large group of individuals outside the venue wearing light blue clothing, carrying flags, and wooden sticks. It was determined that this was the wrong location of the planned event, and all individuals ultimately returned to their vehicles and left the area. At approximately 5:45 p.m., the same group attended a location near the Cambridge Centre Mall in Cambridge, where they sought to locate the correct address of the planned event. This was also determined to be the wrong location. At approximately 6:40 p.m., police further received information that the group was heading towards the Kitchener-Waterloo Croatian Club on Sean Station Road in Woolwich Township. Information provided to police indicated that the situation would likely result in violence. At approximately 6:50 p.m., officers arrived at the KW Croatian Club and located individuals carrying wooden sticks, metal rods, and large rocks. Officers attempted to separate the conflicting groups, estimated to be 300 individuals in total. Our estimation is that 100 individuals attended this location and 200 were already at the site attending the scheduled event. The planned event was called Achievements of Women. Members of the arriving group blocked the roadway with their vehicles and disrupted attempts by police to peacefully intervene. Rocks were thrown between the two conflicting groups and directly at police officers. Numerous individuals were struck and vehicles, including police cruisers, were damaged. Attempts were made by police to peacefully negotiate and de-escalate the violence. Numerous crowd control tactics were utilized by responding officers to separate the groups and resolve the conflict. With the assistance of the Ontario Provincial Police, officers shut down Victoria Street North, Sean Station Road to minimize the number of additional people attending the location.
Okay, so I wanted us to start with this. As we've heard in this media conference, there was a confrontation that took place, a violent confrontation that took place in Canada on 24th of February. And the event that was being organized by the Eritrean community was in relation to International Women's Day and organized under the theme, the Achievement of Women. This violent group had basically searched the city, found out that they were at the wrong location, went to a second location, found out the event wasn't there, and then went to a third location in order to attack. If I heard the officer correctly, there was 100 people at the event, but 200 people trying to come. They came with wooden sticks and rocks to disrupt this event. So I think this is a very good and timely, a topical introduction to what we're going to discuss today. So let me start by asking you, the two of you, we've seen these recent attacks to our Eritrean communities throughout the diaspora. This does not just happen in Canada, but many other cities across North America and Europe, as well as Israel. Let's not forget that one. As a group that identified themselves as Brigade Nahamadu. Is this a new phenomena, or is there a history of the Eritrean community being targeted? Would you like to?
Yeah, I will start. In terms of the intensity and the scale of violence that we're witnessing now throughout Europe, Canada, US, and Israel, and let's not forget Australia as well. Not to this kind of level. There's been, the usual harassment of the community in some areas more than others. Martha will go into, for instance, what's historically happened in Germany. I know in the UK, there hasn't been that level of harassment, particularly political harassment. Just some issues with logistics here and there. But what we're witnessing now is unprecedented in the diaspora, but not completely unexpected, because Eritrean people have always been the target. I know it's always been labeled as, oh, this is about the government, but we know it isn't. This is why you're seeing a hunt of, as we saw in that report from Canada, it was a hunt going from one location to another, looking for women and children to harass. Why? Because they're Eritreans and they're celebrating an Eritrean important milestone. The role of women in Eritrean society is remarkable. Their role in the independence struggle is extraordinary. So it seems that there is no honor in even celebrating the role of Eritrean women in our history. So I don't see that as specifically targeting people who, as they would like to say, pro-Eritrean government. I see it as a target of Eritrean women. So yeah, I mean, I'll let Martha add to that in terms of what she's seen in Germany with the history of what's happened there.
Yeah. Yes, thank you for the question. I agree with you, Feven. It's not about proximity to the Eritrean government. Even an Eritrean flag triggers those people. Eritrean revolutionary songs triggers them. So this is not specifically something that has to do with the Eritrean government. So the history of the Eritrea Festival in Gießen started in 2011. Before that, it was held in Frankfurt. And I want to emphasize that we all know Eritrean festivals were always harmonic and never with violence. So yes, this scale of violence is definitely new, but attempts to portray this festival as something evil is not so new, at least not in Germany. So the history of the Eritrean Festival in Gießen and with the media campaign started in 2011. This was the first year that the festival took place in that city. We all know that the festival is for all generations. And the new framing is now that the people who attack the festivals are the new generations. But we can say that all generations were always welcome. So what happened in Gießen in 2011 is that a very prominent figure in the city, also an elected leader, started to campaign against the festival. And what he did was, it's a very remarkable sentence. I have to read it. Let me see if I find it. He said something like, we have to send neo-Nazis, like German neo-Nazis, to Eritrea. And that was the very first time, you can Google it. It's still you can still find it. And this person is still he resigned from a political work, but till last year, he was very much involved in campaigning against it. So the first thing that the people in Gießen, the non-Eritrean people, learned about Eritrean festival was that Eritrea is the country where neo-Nazis should be sent to. So imagine when you start a campaign or start like that, where you want to go. This is the maximum escalation, and in everything after that was there is recruitment of soldiers at the festival. There's hatred speeches at the festival. So it started 2011, hasn't stopped. Yeah, I can imagine what the people, non-Eritreans, associate, even people who live in Gießen surrounding, associate with this festival, because they haven't, the only, and he's a very prominent figure, a political figure, yes, and so it led to this fateful weekend in July where everything really escalated. So yes, the harassment is not new, and it started really with a massive negative campaign.
Marta, can you please elaborate a little bit? Maybe it's a cultural context or something that I don't understand. Not that I imagine that this politician was saying anything that was logical, but what did he mean by that? Why would neo-Nazis be sent to Eritrea?
Yes, there was I think there was some you know, there was a demonstration of neo-Nazis or something they wanted to do at this weekend. So there was already something happening with neo-Nazis in Gießen. And so he took the opportunity to say, well, we can get rid of the Nazis, and we can also get rid of the festival. And the best way is to send the Nazis to Germany. It just was an association,
To send
you
it to
know. It's
Eritrea.
just yeah, send neo-Nazis, German neo-Nazis to Eritrea, and you don't say that. You can imagine everyone knows the history of Nazis in Germany, so you don't say that very easily. And normally, this argument is a dead horse, but he dared to say that. And as a political figure, his duty or his, what you would expect is that he engages with the Eritrean community, or tries to understand the Eritrean festival. But you know, it also gives you an idea about the ideology, because this campaign hasn't stopped, and he was not interested in engaging with the Eritrean community. This is how we took it.
Yeah, there are definitely various figures that anybody in the Eritrean diaspora knows, very particular figures who've been very invested in portraying a very negative picture about the Eritrean communities in the diaspora. And it's also very easy, like we have evidence to prove that they are connected to the same, not only to this group that has been terrorizing, different venues and cities. Let me just also make this clear. It's not that, they, although they target Eritreans and any symbol of Eritrea, they're not just destroying Eritrean property or, wreaking havoc to Eritrean lives. This also affects the communities in which these attacks happen. So they destroy, the physical properties that are not owned by Eritreans. They've destroyed cars. They've attacked police and injured them. So it really goes beyond that. But we know that there's certain figures that have been promoting this type of violence, and we'll definitely bring up the clips to show the evidence. We have all the receipts, but we know that there are particular individuals that are not only emboldening this group called Brigade Nahamadu, but also are very much in bed with the TPLF and its supporters and the remnants of those people, both in the West and back in Ethiopia. So on that topic, let me go to the next question. We know that these attacks have come from this group that are called, they call themselves Brigade Nahamadu. Who are they?
Well, yes. This is for us. It's not a very mysterious question, because they're very open about who they are. So there are Eritreans in this group. I think it's not right to say there are no Eritreans in this group, but there are also a lot of Tagaros in this group, North Ethiopians. And those North Ethiopians, they are and Eritreans, they have something in common. They have one ideology. For me, it looks like that. This is something that they have in common, they I think they have one common goal is to change the government in Eritrea by any means. This is one goal, but the other goal is to weaken the Eritrean community in the diaspora, because this is where they see the strength, the power, right? And they're right. We are a very powerful community, and they targeted this unity in the diaspora. This because they think if they weaken this diaspora, they may have a better chance for achieving their goals. This is how I would put just a solo, like a very short explanation. But of course, you have this foot soldiers. They call themselves soldiers. It's not my term. They call themselves soldiers. But you also have a network behind them. So it's very important to emphasize that this Brigade Nahamelu is a group that has a thought out plan. This is they have a plan A and a plan B. We get to that later. But this is not just fighting in the streets. There was a plan to stop any gathering of Eritreans. And maybe you can add to and you know, fulfill what I
yeah, I mean, you're right. Just to add to that, if we were going to say who is this group, who's the attackers, then you know they've clearly identified themselves as Brigade Nahamadu. The makeup of them is quite diverse, but ultimately there is a very it's a Tigray project, I would say. You know, the people that are dominant within this group are people who during the Tigray conflict were very much Tigray Awet. There's some of them who identify themselves as Tigrayan, whether they are by blood or whether they feel that they should be identified as Tigrayan. So, but ultimately, because the essence of what it is that they want to do is to get at Eritrean identity. Now, it's no mishap that the first thing that they've gone for is actually our culture, our cultural gathering, or our unity, as Martha said. You know, because that's usually the first place to attack if you want to attack a community or to break it apart. Because, you know, the reasoning that you sometimes hear about their reasoning for targeting events and festivals, and by the way, the events and the festivals are the ones that are most reported about, but we also know that they've attacked individuals, they've attacked businesses in many different other countries. So, and what's in common with all of these, the victims, is that they're all people who identify that, who are proud of their Eritrean heritage and who carry that in their business or in their life. So because they're targeting, you know, they say they're targeting the government, but ultimately it isn't. It is actually attacking our cultural institutions, our unity. And one of the places is, you know, these festivals, these events are actually about bringing people together. It's not necessarily just about the music. It's not necessarily about, you know, the food. That's a bonus, but ultimately it's about bringing people together. And when you're attacking that, then the motive is slightly different because their reasoning behind it doesn't make sense. And if you were to look into it, you would think it absolutely makes sense, because anybody with logic would think, how is that possible? Sometimes I'll read stuff about their objections. There was something that came out this week from one of the NGOs who is behind putting a narrative as to why these festivals should be cancelled, or as to why these events are pro-dictatorship, etc. And so some of the things that they say is, for instance, the diaspora, Eritrean diaspora, is under pressure and threat to go to these festivals, where military propaganda and hate speech are spread, and where they have to pay money to the Eritrean government. Now, logically, when you say people are forced to go to these festivals, you just think, number one, these festivals are not advertised nationwide. It's not like there's a big TV campaign, radio campaign. You know, there's a festival happening, you've got to go to it, etc. No, it's on, if you know about it, you'll go. And if you don't know about it, you just won't know about it. How is it that people are threatened to go is beyond me, because what are you doing? Are you pulling people out their houses and dragging them and saying, you've got to be there or else? Is there some kind of loyalty card, for instance, depending on how many you attend to or how many dances you do, you're given a free pass, oh, you've done well. You know, is it that, you know, when you go to Eritrea, you're at the immigration office and they'll say, where's your loyalty card? How many dances did you do? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Absolutely doesn't make sense. But they sell this. They sell this and they build a case, and it just goes around and it reverberates. And the people that you think you're logical enough to ask questions and wonder, hang on a second, how does this exactly work? And what exactly happens at these festivals? You know, they'll show you images of reenactment people wearing military outfits. It's like, oh, are these actually soldiers? And no, of course they're not. I mean, what would spies and soldiers be doing at an event, for instance, you know? And then sometimes they'll use gunshots around reenactment. So look at them. It's just beyond belief, the levels that they go to make it believable. And they do actually believe it, or people who view it, who should know better, even though if they're not from the culture, who should know better, should actually question it, but they don't. And I don't know if it's a question of, you know, because it's not meant for us and it's not meant for a Black audience or an African audience who would probably question these things and go, what's going on here? And it's meant for a non-Black audience who perhaps think, oh, you know, this is the exotic, isn't it? Maybe they do that sort of stuff and are likely to take it in. So yeah, so ultimately for me, I think whoever they are, whatever their makeup is, it's their main target is to hit at the at us, our unity, at the Eritrean identity. But you know, this is something they're going to be successful at, because we don't need an event to confirm our identity. We don't need an event in order, if we wanted to give money to our government to do it. So it's a failed project. But you know, that's who ultimately they are. That's who I say they are.
Yeah, you definitely have to share with me that the report where they said that, so I can have a good laugh every time I feel down. I mean, it's such a ridiculous thing to imagine. The festival that happens annually.
I'll share it for you later, but it's from the one and only. You'll know whenever you want to see it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. You know, it's so ridiculous. So the festival that happens in Stockholm every year, I mean, tens of thousands of people attend daily. Do they honestly think that they're taking attendance of who attends? Like, I mean, it's just so ridiculous. And also, all these events are actually open to the public. You know, the people from the neighborhood around where the festival takes place in Stockholm, they come. Eritrean young people, they bring their friends who, I mean, by the look of them, they're not Eritrean. You know, within this last couple of years, though, especially when this violence has escalated, I think it should be important to. So we already said in the beginning that they've targeted an Eritrean Women's Day celebration in Canada. They're not just targeting even festivals or Independence Day or you know, what we call the Hati Maskarem, the 1st of September, the start of the Eritrean Revolution. They're not just attacking this. If I had the video up, I would share it right now. But you know, they even gone to attack churches. At the time that the attacks happened in The Hague, I heard that they went to a funeral for some reason and caused a disturbance there. They say that they're going to even, you know, go to baptisms and weddings and do this, and they have. So it just basically any type of symbol, a remote symbol of you being Eritrean, uh, and it could be the flag, or it could just be, it could really be whatever. They target you. I want it to be also clear to those who are listening and who are going to be listening to this later. The reason why we know these things is because it's literally plastered all over social media. Most of the recruitment of those who or the mobilization for those who participate in these violent activities through Brigade Nahamadu, they do this through radicalizing youth, especially on TikTok. That's not the only avenue. There are YouTube channels dedicated to this. There's plenty of Facebook posts, and they actually loudly affiliate themselves with the TDF. Now, a close associate to Brigade Nahamadu is another movement called, they call themselves Bright Future. and the leader, his name is Ana Gedesget, if I'm not mistaken. He's been recorded to saying this. Let's hear it real quick. It's only 9 seconds. Okay, so to basically to do a loose translation, what he's saying is uh, so a little bit of context. TDF stands for Tigray Defense Force. It is a fighting force that's only really come into existence, at least under that name, since the war in northern Ethiopia, particularly Tigray, had started back in November 2020. So what he says, and he's a leader, and I will show more evidence too of how he had literally pinged the location for people to attack an event in The Hague. This is the man behind most of the violence. Now, in this video, he says, Brigade Nahamadou means TDF, referring to the Tigray Defense Forces. The only difference between us and them is our location, and that we will do anything in our power to make sure that they win. So they openly declared this type of stuff. So we already we've talked a little bit about we talked about who they are, and we also plugged in a little bit on how they operate. Let's evaluate that. Let's discuss that a little bit more. How do they? And I also mentioned that most of the mobilization happens on social media, especially TikTok. What are their other Mirandai operate? Like how else do they organize themselves?
They break themselves up into 2 units, as they say. So they call it Plan A. This is the unit that will target venues. So we book somewhere, and then the venue will be harassed, bombarded, either by emails and phone calls, with allegation that this festival promotes propaganda, this festival or the event is going to have child soldiers, this festival is for a dictatorship, and all that sort of stuff. Now, we know that historically festivals have not necessarily, people from different political views have come to it, because the basis of a festival, an event, is a gathering. So, but no, it's completely dismissed, and this is what it's supposed to, this is what it's all about, because it's a propaganda. Again, the evidence is so flimsy as to why it's a propaganda, and it's usually because you've got reenactments, and if you think about Eritrea being a new country for 30 years, and it was born out of an independence struggle, then you would think that that history will be part of whatever celebration there is about Eritrea. So that is part of Eritrean history, the independence struggle. You can't just do away with it the same way that England cannot do away with World War I or World War II. They honor their past heroes. They honor the sacrifices. School children go to when they go to school, they will do tests, and they will read about World War I, World War II, etc. So it seems strange that when it comes to Eritrean, celebrating that part of their history is all of a sudden become about hate speech. It's all of a sudden become, it's brainwashing kids, or it's a form of propaganda, etc. So it's all an excuse at the end of the day, because we know what it's all about. It is all about attacking the unity, but it's all a form of excuse. So that Plan A will do that, and then the interesting thing about Plan A is that it's a threat about a threat. I call it a threat about a threat, because essentially they will contact the venue and say, well, if you let this thing happen, previously there was that incident where there were X amount of police injuries, where there was so much disturbances, damages, etc., and you don't want it to happen. Now, considering the people who are causing the damage are the people who are writing to the venues and telling them that if you have this, then this will happen. It's a threat about a threat. So it's the same people that tell you, well, we don't want this event to happen because it's offensive, are the same people that will cause the damage. It's very, very weird. And then after that, you've got what you call Plan B, which is, this is where people on TikTok, certain, would you call them influencers? I don't know. But leaders of these brigades, of these people will go on TikTok and, you know, for hour-long sessions, they will try and recruit people, galvanize people to go to these events and do whatever it is that they need to do, even if it's going up against the police, as they call it, paying the price. And as for them, it's whether they are hurt or killed or end up being arrested is all fine, it's part and parcel. So it's a form of radicalization, you know, and there are lots of vulnerable young people who can be attracted to that, who will be susceptible to this kind of galvanization. And they are the people that are paying the price, because ultimately when somebody is injured or when somebody is arrested, it is these kind of groups, because the people who are leading them, like the video of the guy that you played earlier, he's not going to be anywhere near it. But it's the younger ones, the ones that are vulnerable. So there's a radicalization that's going here as well. That's kind of a concern. And then from there on, things just escalate, and whatever, regardless of what happens, it's the media attention that they seek. So a successful Plan B for them is where there's been a number of injuries, a number of damage, and the press will have to cover it. And then that to them is great. So again, this is why I say this is a bit of a Tigray project as well, because I remember that kind of method during the Tigray conflict, where you had a lot of TPLF supporters doing the same thing in the diaspora, which is, you know, to raise awareness, as they would call it. It's whether it's a demonstration outside somewhere where they're lying down on the street, or I think there was in America where they blocked a highway, and it was all about, you know, getting the press attention. So there's a bit of that to it. So yeah, I don't know if you want to add something else to it.
I would like to add something real quick before you go, Marta. Yeah, the fact is that they always record this violence, even themselves. So that's why we know who is behind it and how they're behind it. And I have personally seen enough clips and videos where they're live streaming it, and they even say Tigray Tarwet, which means victory to Tigray. You know, I remember when they were attacking the hall in Israel. Somebody was recording, and they were even saying like, "Look, Tagaru, look." It's such a huge connection. The difference, I think, though, between the you know, those who are trying to bring attention to the conflict in northern Ethiopia in the past and what's happening now, is that these young people have been so radicalized to think that they can do this violence with impunity. They believe that you know, the law is not you know, doesn't pertain to them. That what they're doing is that it is legal. And this also has to do with decades of propaganda of this constant attack on Eritrean identity, constant attack on anything that has to do with Eritrea. So they believe that then the, you know, white Europeans, white Americans, white Canadians would sympathize with them. And then when one of them, or more than one of them, gets arrested, they then go on to protest in front of the respective country's embassy, claiming, even though there's plenty of video evidence of not only the violence, but those who are promoting it, when they end up going to jail, they start protesting in front of embassies and play the victim card. This definitely happened last fall. They were going into each of the Israeli embassies in their respective areas, their respective towns, and they did the same for the Dutch embassy, for the Kingdom of the Netherlands, because they had arrested so many people who had really just inflicted so much damage. We will show you the clips later. But yeah, Marta, how do you think? How do you believe that they are operating?
Like you both said, but I want to add something about the miscalculation and how stupid this plan is. First, I don't know how it is in Sweden or in the UK, but there are in the corporate media, you don't read that there is a plan A and plan B, that they both go hand in hand. So there is also a conspiracy in my view. Okay, of course I cannot prove it, but it seems like there is a a network behind that. So just focusing on the violence and not explaining to the public that this violence is in fact the plan B, and when there's a plan B, there's a plan A. So imagine if the people would know that they are trying to blackmail society, really understand this operation. So this is carefully written off any reporting. You find some media outlets, but they are not like known to the public. So very small media outlets who reported on that. And to say something about the attention seekers, yes, they are very much media attention seekers. This is exactly what they wanted. They want to have these pictures and cause as much damage as possible, because this is exactly how they can get the attention. And then you have the spin doctors who write the stories and say find excuses for those violent outbursts. And what we have seen in the reporting after those violence attacks is a clear tendency to blame the victims. It's really crazy. Instead of understanding that even you can oppose the government, and there are so many still who oppose the government of Eritrea, but they do not participate in this group. But this is just a small group. This is not the opposition, or this is not this new generation. This is a small group that is getting a lot of attention. They are not representatives of any other of the majority of the Eritrean people. So I think this is very important to also to emphasize that they are getting so much attention, although they do not represent Eritreans in the majority. Yeah, even if you are what they frame it like a government supporter against the critics of the governments, and so no, they chose violence in order to get the media attention. And this is very important to understand. So yeah, just to give an impression. Yeah.
Yeah, when they say like new generation, for me that also doesn't make much sense. Are they trying to imply that they're just younger people? Because that's not always the case. And there's also so many like young people, Eritreans, those who are proud of their identity, who attend those the Eritrean community organized events. So what are they referring to when it comes to young generation is really doesn't make any
What
sense.
they
It
mean
doesn't
is
make any logic.
they were traumatized. This is just the talking point. The argument is that this new generation is so traumatized because of the way they got to Europe, and that's why they cannot bear festivals. But what we know that there are Ethiopian festivals, there are even Tegaru festivals. Yeah, there are plenty other festivals. So this is just an excuse for getting the media attention in order to bring Eritrea again in a negative light, or to show the world how bad this government is. Literally, they said it's the government that is causing this violence, not us. You know, this is
that is
very
yeah,
weird.
that is so interesting. Yeah, it's very weird. Uh, uh, you know, the migration journey of Eritreans vary. A lot of them have gone through the very tough route, you know, to make it to Libya, you know, to go through the on a rickety boat to the Mediterranean, and to make their way to Europe. And yeah, so there's definitely a reason for many Eritreans that have migrated sooner than rather than like more older generations to feel trauma. But at this, you know, the same people, what I mean, people who have gone through such a traumatic journey are also at the festival. So it's not even that's not even an excuse. Those who have been in national service for a long time in Eritrea, they are at our festivals, you know, as well. So this excuse of trauma just it doesn't have much logic, and also nobody's forcing these people to go to the festival anyway. Like, why don't they uh, just stay home instead of, you know, trying to harm who are supposed to be their fellow Eritreans? I would like to show some short clips of some of the things that have happened. Let me just sorry. uh, Let me, it's not sharing. Can the technicians help me make it? Yes, so let me just show some short clips.
Attentie, attentie! Hier spreekt de politie. Uw dienst is te verwijderen. Gaat ik kruising? Weg! Alles moet tot geweld worden gebruikt. Hey, dames en heren. Wat?
So in this clip, if I'm not mistaken, it's in The Hague. That one was the first one was in The Hague. We should also talk. Let's not forget to bring up the fact that they come in these blue flags. This is the aftermath of them attacking the Eritrean Festival Scandinavia in Stockholm last year. This happened on the Thursday, where the day that the festival was supposed to open. Especially the tents that you see burning in this clip are actually the things that private companies, Eritrean companies, were selling. So they weren't targeting anything related to a government or anything. It was private property, and also things that they merchants sell.
نقول اللي مدبكين له رايو مثل يلا نقول اتفهرمو أري هاري بمغيب يا سيسلان فياو.
Okay, so this clip, I believe, I think this was the first physical attack of the festival, and it happened in Gießen, August 2022. They strategically come to the events before most people arrive, knowing that it's mostly, you know, elders or, you know, women who come to with their children in order to, you know, do some of the preliminary preparations. And what this little girl is describing to the woman that's reporting, she said, like, oh, she asked, oh, did she hit you? And she said, yes. And she said, where? She got hit in the back through the rocks. I have one more clip. Okay, so it's a little bit hard to see in that one, but what the younger man did was take a metal folding chair and smacked an elder, in fact, a well-known elder, over the head, causing his skull to split and crack. This is the type of violence that they are about. Let's talk a little bit about how, we already know that they target anything that symbolizes Eritrea, right? And one of the first things is the Eritrean flag, the green, red, blue with the yellow reef flag. But when they come to these events, they come with another flag. Let's talk about that a little bit.
That was the Federation flag, as we all know, and they use that because they don't believe in the flag that we now have. I mean, both flags are Eritrean flags. So the Malay flag is part of our history. But that was a Federation flag. We've moved on. We've become an independent nation, and we've got a flag to represent that. Holding on to that flag wherever it symbolizes to them that Eritrea is not independent, so therefore maybe they don't believe in Eritrea's independence, or whether they think, well, some of the arguments I've heard is that, well, we don't vote for this flag. It's neither here or there. To them, is they're trying to establish a completely different unit under this flag, to say that, okay, Eritreans under this flag, they're the good one, under the Malay flag, and Eritreans under the world recognized flags are the bad ones. Which again, I think it's ridiculous, because both flags are essentially Eritreans. So this is why it's just very confusing, because essentially, if this is about Eritrea and about a better Eritrea, whatever it is that you want to change, you want to see change, then essentially Eritrea should be at the heart of it, and the people should be at the heart of it. But none of that seems to be true with this. So even when you look at what happened in The Hague, for instance, and the effect of that is going to it's going to be felt throughout the whole Eritrean community. It really doesn't matter whether you're opposition or supporter or not even politically minded at all. Ultimately, it's going to be looked at, oh, there is this Eritrean community, they have issues. Already there will have been studies, and there are studies that the Dutch have done about the Eritrean integration into the Dutch society, and they're not very complimentary, some of the studies I saw said that they're not very well integrated, they're not educated, and all that sort of stuff. So it cuts across board. They're not necessarily going to come up with laws specifically to deal with one group within a very small community anyway. So Eritrea is one of the many groups in Holland. You've got the Syrians, you've got other ethnic minorities. So essentially, how is it that they think they're going to produce anything that is going to be received well, or it's going to work well for Eritreans in general, is not here. That's not what they're about. So it can't be Eritrea that's what they're about. There's something else going on here, and that something else seems to be about using all of these excuses about propaganda and these festivals promote this and that. None of it that holds up to scrutiny once you start getting into details about what's exactly happening over here, and then it all breaks apart. So, but instead what you have is a genuine attack on an identity, and the way you get to that identity is through its cultural celebration. If there's anybody out there that thinks, oh, these festivals, these cultural celebrations are actually really bad because they promote this and that, the argument is not that. or they collect this money. No, because if you had any serious concerns, let's say about child welfare, because you think, oh, they're being dressed up in soldiers' outfits and perhaps they're receiving training, then there are proper mechanisms, you know, in order to establish that. You know, you can raise your concerns with social welfares, you can raise so many mechanisms that you could use in order to address those issues if you had serious concerns about those issues. But it's not about that. It's just a means to an end. That end is to really break and get at the Eritrean unity. And at the heart of every time, whether here in the diaspora or in Eritrea, it's always been the people that have been got at. You know, the government has been used as an excuse, but however, it's always been about the people. You look at, you see it through sanctions, for instance. The sanctions are essentially economic warfare, and they target the people. They don't target the government, they target the people. So essentially, sanctions is the equivalent of having a very bad credit, basically. So therefore, if you have very bad credit, you can't borrow. And if you do, you're going to be borrowing at high interest rates, etc. So from a country point of view, a heavily sanctioned country like Eritrea was, means that you are cut off from the social, from the financial systems. So which means that where you need money to develop the country, where you need to renew your infrastructure or build on your infrastructure, you're not going to have access to that fund. Okay, whatever fund you have access to is going to be limited. So, and that is something that needs to be understood. So when people say, well, Eritrea is not doing very well, well, number one, it's a third world country, a heavily sanctioned country. The fact that it's still there and there's no civil war is a miracle. So, and we need to remember that. But where these people who turn around and say, well, you know, look at the government, they haven't done this or they haven't done that, or look at this is falling apart, etc. Well, what do you expect when you were one of those people who were in that group that called for its sanction? What do you think sanction is? It affects the whole country. So it's always been about squeezing the people of Eritrea, whether they're in Eritrea. And here at the moment, what we're seeing is something similar, which is about squeezing the Eritrean in the diaspora to make them come, you know, break apart, to make them sort of like, you know, hate their identity, hate themselves, you know. So for instance, the top that you're wearing, Rahel, is to make people not to wear that, not to be going out that and seen with that, you know, to hide it. So I just don't think this is about Eritrea. I don't think it's about, you know, the argument of we want to see a better Eritrea, whether it's through a regime change or this or that. I think it's essentially getting at the people. It's, you know, getting at Eritreans. So I'll stop there, otherwise I can keep on talking.
Yeah. You brought up the fact that there are other ethnic minorities in Holland. The clip I was just showing, you know, that is from, well, what was happening in The Hague when they inflicted violence. I mean, it's really interesting for the fact that, you know, The Hague is known as, you know, symbolically as a place where a lot of peace agreements take place. There's different mechanisms in The Hague for this as well. And was it just a few weeks before this event, or maybe a month before this event, the world witnessed that the you know, South Africa took Israel to the International Criminal Court of Justice and accused them of inciting genocide. At a time where there's such huge major global events happening, you don't see this type of violence. The attacking of police, breaking the windows, you know, damaging buildings. This was at the Opera House, from what I understand. You know, burning down police cars. You do not see this from other ethnic groups, at least definitely not in this type of context. And yet we witness this happening in the downtown, in the middle of The Hague. Something that I think we should also, so the location of the party that they were attacking, from what I understand from all the accounts, was actually located in a hall that was towards the back of the entrance. Closer to the front of the entrance, there was a wedding taking place. And from what I understand, it was a Turkish couple having a wedding. So these hooligans did not only try to physically harm Eritreans inside the venue, that fortunately they couldn't reach. Not only did they inflict heavy damage on the property and burn, attack police, injured them, and burned down their cars, but they also ruined a wedding of, Turkish families who had nothing to do with them. That is how, ravaging and widespread this type of terrorism can go. So let's get into that. Like how has what has been the effect of Brigade Nahamadu on our communities, legally, and the police?
So exactly, I agree with you. Attacking the police is a strategy. They say that in their clips. They say that specifically our target is the police. They don't hide that fact. So they show up at these places with sticks. And from what I've heard in The Hague is that they had in their cars they were full of stones. So the intention was really to physical harm, physical harm the visitors, and to harm the police. So this is a very criminal intention, the effect on the non-Eritrean or non-Horn of Africa communities is just they're absolutely disgusted. I don't know the calculation they had, but it just went totally wrong. They don't care about the reasons why. They just don't understand. Excuse me. Why this is why this should be played out on Europe's soil or North America or whatever. This it's just a totally miscalculation. Who makes this kind of plan? I mean, just imagine. At one point, they were sitting together and they were saying, okay, if we cannot stop the festival through legal means, then we will use violence. And there was no sane person saying, oh, this might cause a lot of trouble with the communities. Europe is in an energy crisis. There's a lot of things going on. And then they come on top of that, so highly irresponsible. That's why it's so important not just to go after those soldiers, but to those people behind this so-called strategy or the plan. Because those who were behind that clearly know what impact it might have, not only on African migrants. We have seen it in Israel, where non-Eritreans were subject to the political game of Netanyahu party, where they were debating deporting all Africans out. So it has an effect not only on Eritreans, and every migrant group or minority is affected. So this is highly irresponsible, and it's fueling the tension in Europe, and it's not good. And it's not. They will not achieve anything with that. Just one weekend full of headlines, okay, and after that, nothing. They will go to jail. People will have more reasons to, of course, they don't have reasons to vote right-wingers, but you know what they call this kind of events when migrants or when this happens in Germany, they are campaigners for the right-wing parties because they're giving them reasons, so who is behind that? This is something that is going to be subject of upcoming researchers, in my opinion. Yeah.
Just real quick, when the attack was happening in Stockholm at the festival there, it was all over the news. And I know activists in Sweden, when they asked me about it, they couldn't believe how irresponsible it was. It's like we are fighting against racism and xenophobia here through all legal means, through our activism, and now what happened in Stockholm has really taken us back. Like we just gave the right wingers or the supporters of the right wing parties an excuse to not only, I mean, this does not even just affect the Eritrean communities and efforts to make it so that they cannot, assemble. This is affecting all the other communities, all the ethnic, racialized communities, because it gives a very bad image. Even the asylum seekers, right? If you're giving, I mean, even after the fact that you did what you did, you're going to say, no, we shouldn't go to jail for burning down cars and creating all this havoc because we're asylum seekers, we're traumatized. I mean, how about all those asylum seekers who have never done a violent thing? You are creating an image, a stereotype that is going to be used against them. And for what? The Eritrean government is not in Europe, it's not in North America, it's in Eritrea. Continue, Kevin.
Yeah, just to add to what you both said, you've said it all to be fair, but I was looking at the reactions from people, the migrant community in Holland with regards to what happened in The Hague. And most of them were mortified. Most of the common comments was, you wouldn't do this in your own country, why are you doing it here? Because it affects all immigrants. It absolutely affects all immigrants. Because if you look at it from a policy point of view, you're not necessarily going to put something in place just specifically for the Eritrean. I'd say even from the point of view of immigration, you're not so necessarily going to put something just with this group. That's not how it works. That's not actually how it works. Some of the calls that you hear about, well, deport these and keep these, and that's not how it works. It will be one rule applicable across board. They don't have time to sift who is this and who is that. You are one of many migrant community or immigrant community in the country. So it's highly irresponsible. You are actually making yourself a target, and you don't even have to worry about what you call Higdef or government supporters. You're actually making yourself a target of other migrants who are there going, what are you doing? We're literally trying to make a life for ourselves here, not be a victim of racism, not be a victim of xenophobia and everything else that comes with it for us and our children. And here you are doing the complete opposite. So you're just, you are going to be seen as a problematic community by other ethnic minority. So, and again, this is what I mean. The whole project of Brigade Nahamadu, of what they're about, what they're trying to achieve, does not add up. So there's something else behind it. And that thing is to break away and to break apart the Eritrean unity here in the diaspora, and the whole continuous project of get at Eritrean people, whether they're in Eritrea or whether they're outside, just get them to just squeeze them as much as you can so that they, do away with their heritage, essentially.
You brought up the shirt that I'm wearing, Fabian. Sometime after the attack on the Eritrean Festival in Stockholm, thank God my son wasn't with me there. I will actually show a clip of something. He has a few of these type of jerseys with the Eritrean flag. And one day, I forget where we're going, but he wanted to wear his jersey. And I suggested to him, like, maybe not today, because I knew that we were going to take public transportation, take the train. And I really felt unsafe, especially with my son that he would wear. And his reply was, and it shocked the hell out of me. He was like, is it because if I wear this shirt, they're going to come and attack us or try to kill me? And that really shocked me because I did not teach my son that at all. I never instilled any of it. But of course, as these things were happening, it was all plastered on, national TV. Of course, he would have some type of understanding. For a 10-year-old to feel unsafe because of his shirt is just, and in the middle of Europe, I mean, it's really mind-boggling. That is how huge this miscalculation is. I want to show this clip. It is a clip that I recorded on my phone. So this is 100% my copyright. So just in case it's lost on anybody, let's take a look. Okay, so I don't know if it looks small for the audience, but let me describe what happened. So it was early. It was quite early in the morning before the festival opened. Really, the opening ceremony was going to happen in the afternoon, and some of us were there at the festival of course, to prepare. And because they had received a permit to protest in a very particular area where you see them up in this barricaded area, the police had in fact escorted them into that designated area. I don't know what the exact number of them was. I think they were close to 1,000, maybe two. Like they were a lot of them. Once they came in, kind of marching in, and then once they actually all were able to come to that area, I swear to you, it took less than a minute, 2 minutes for them to, as you saw, push down the middle barricade and storm the festival. Now you can't see it in the video, but the festival area for in Stockholm, it happens in like a field. And so they were able to make their way all the way to the top. I stopped recording. They already were starting to throw stuff. So I head back to what I think would be kind of like the middle part of the field. And as I was sitting in one of the tents, they came, opened the tent, and started to inflict unimaginable damage. That violence happened for like at least a good 2 hours, like it was a war zone. And because of the nature of the field, they were able to surround it and attack anybody that was at the center, which mostly included older, elderly women and children. What we call our elders, right? Definitely our parents, grandparents' age. Let's talk about how the police, even though they had been informed of this violence, came ill prepared to protect the Eritreans there. That's exactly what happened. They were prior to because mind you, like I said earlier in the show, all of this stuff has been broadcasted all over social media. Like we know it. They say that as they recruit people, you hear people even give comments and they talk about how they're going to go and burn things down, right? And so the Eritrean diaspora community in Stockholm and beyond had told the police, had warned them that this is what they're planning. They didn't just do this through, making police reports just by, an oral police report. They also showed them the clips. And yet even the police in this situation they were very ill prepared. Now, why do you think this is the case? Let's start with Fevin.
Complacency, essentially what it is. And it was the same pattern in particularly in Europe. I'm not so sure about Canada, probably the same, which is that underestimation. They completely underestimated the level of aggression and violence. And also when they were warned that aggression is also targeted at them, they still underestimated it. I think, all right, you can take it that, for instance, police, when it comes to something like this, it's not exactly high priority, all right? There's a level of racism to it, which is, black on black, okay, it's going to happen, let them fight it out, and then we'll come afterwards. So in every incident, like you saw it with The Hague, where they were told, they were informed, and as much information was passed on to them as possible on the day itself, when you had some of these policemen who were there talk about what they experienced, they said it was a war zone. There was nothing. It was absolutely nothing like they expected it to be. And usually with these kind of protests, even if it gets violence, you know, throwing tear gases, that sort of stuff usually brings the whole situation down. Whereas with this, they were continuously coming back at them and attacking them, and you know, and causing so much damage. And never mind the weapons that they found. So so why do they do that? It's a very, very, very good question. It's an absolutely brilliant question. Either whether it is because they need to see the damage. Sometimes, you know, you kind of hear the thing about police is that you'll tell them about something that's going to happen until there's a body, they won't act. There's a bit of that, for instance, in this situation. It's once they see the body, they're like, oh, okay, so we have to take this seriously. And it seems to be happening, for instance, in Holland now, where they are launching an investigation into Brigade Nahamadu itself. It's a parliamentary investigation because of what they saw. And they immediately recognized this as the work of a group. So that's going to be very interesting. I mean, whether you're going to, you know, as they hope from what I've seen on Brigade Nahamadu, is that they're going to try and get around that by putting it into context of saying, well, this festival is about this and we're this and that. I mean, good luck to them, but I don't think that's going to help, because you can get as much as attention as you want. You can get all the media attention that you want. You can stop as many events as you can, but ultimately still have to answer to the law. And the law is very black and white, which is you've committed the crime, you're going to have to do the time. And considering they've left a trail of evidence themselves, it's not exactly going to be very hard for, you know, for the police to put a case in. In some countries, they're starting to put cases together and, you know, following it through. But as Martha said earlier, with the main concern for a lot of these countries is that they definitely see this as a foreign conflict playing out on their soil. That's what they see it as, because these demonstrations is not about any institution within those countries that these people are protesting against. They're not protesting against some Dutch institution or German or English institution or Canadian, etc. This is something, what is it that you want? Oh, we want to change of regime. Where is this regime in some faraway places? What's that got to do with us? Why are cars burning? Why are policemen hurt? How's that going to add up exactly here? You telling us that you're traumatized and this and that is not going to add up for them, but good luck to them. You know, it's always worth trying. So I think from the police's point of view, I think it's waiting for the crime to happen before they act. Forewarning them about it is not enough. And it's essentially what's been happening here. I think some of the reaction that I saw from Canada, for instance, from Calgary, was really, really good. It was the most spot on reaction I've seen of all of the polices, which is that they went straight into it. We appreciate people have different ideologies and we're happy for them to have that, but they can't, you know, use that ideology to fight against each other. So it just really varies, but I think ultimately it just comes down to seeing the crime before they do anything, which is frustrating for us.
Yeah, I've definitely seen clips or you know, from the news where they called it third world violence on our streets. They've been referring to it. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, even the methods in which these people, I mean, it's a horrible stereotype for all of us to have to deal with at the end of the day. But to come to a location with your cars full of rocks and sticks, I mean, it's really embarrassing. Marta, what do you think about the?
Yes, I think this is going to be a subject for research in the future. Very, very important one. The last violent outburst in Stuttgart, for example, in September 23, the interior minister of the state said that a bloodbath was prevented. So they carried sticks, but they were still allowed to go very close to the venue. So there are some things that just don't add up. And we have to be very careful because the police were attacked. They did not want to be in this situation. So what information were available, accessible, and were there police informed properly? No, not probably. Enough, and were they equipped enough? This is something that needs to be investigated, and we will not let that go. So we all as a community should really understand that if this is going to be a successful case, like banning the festival out of a group that caused violence, then every state is in trouble. So a proper investigation needs to be done here, yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting subject for research in the coming years. So it will all be something that we all have to work with. Yeah.
Somebody could see the YouTube live then next to me. Somebody asked a question about how can we prove that many of the members of Brigade Nahamadu are Ethiopians from the Tigray region, and how do we think this helps the authorities to bring a solution. I'm going to share already earlier in this program we showed how the leader has affiliated himself and Brigade Nahamadu to TDF, the Tigray Defense Force. We also talked about how, as Brigade Nahamadu is against any type of anything that symbolizes Eritrea, they have now wrongfully, and I would even say legally adopted the old Eritrean flag, the one that we had during Federation. And that is a blue flag with a green reef. Now, these are a series of clips of people who have sported both these flags. I hope it's, so you can see the blue flag and the red flag. This woman here is wearing the blue, the old Federation flag, holding the old Federation flag and the Tigray flag. This person here, he literally, those who cannot read Tigrinya, this reads Brigade Nahamadu, and on his neck he has his necklace shows a map of Tigray. This is the same as he's recording himself going to an event to attack. He's been on TikTok sporting the flag that symbolizes the TPLF, which is the Tigray People Liberation Front. Also a flag that symbolizes, of course, the region of Tigray and TDF. And you can see him, he has the blue flag, the Eritrean Federation flag wrapped around his head. Same thing, necklace. The t-shirt says Brigade Nahamadu, but his necklace is the shape of Tigray with the Tigray flag. Here, it looks like some type of football match happening, but with both the teams, they support of each other. I don't know. They have the blue flag, the Federation flag, and the Tigray flag. So these are just some of the, and this person, on the left here is the leader of one of the leaders of Brigade Nahamadu, and you can see him with the Tigray flag as well. The same person that's holding the Tigray flag with him as he is attacking and live streaming himself attack venues. He is sporting the Mele or the old Federation flag. So this is just one of much evidence. When it comes to the type of, I don't know if this is a solution because, to dox people for making false claims of asylum is not exactly my cup of tea. But the truth of the matter is many identity cards of those who who were refugees in the northern part of Ethiopia have had their identity cards stolen, and these identity cards were basically sold so that people from Tigray of Ethiopian origin could seek asylum under the name of, to claim that they are Eritreans. How rigorous the migration or asylum committees can look through this is not known, but since the, especially November 2020, I wish I had saved one video where they're actually at a rally, a TPLF rally, where some women are, saying boldly, like, yeah, we never really came to these type of things before because we claimed asylum as Eritreans, but now we're out, we're ready to show ourselves in support of Tigray. I will try to find that and show it to you, but let's take a quick look at this clip right here.
أنا نوع عليه هنارك أوزي كلهم سمع حلو تساي قبره يلو خون تساي قبر هنارك أزي خردناتي هنارك رأي خردناتي أوزي لناتي رأي ارتراز بلو زي رأي أوزي لباك أبناء مع كرة لو زي باك أوزي لا سوق بل راح سوق بل سوق.
Okay, so let me just translate since it doesn't have any English subtitles. So you can see obviously the Tigray TPLF flags here, right? So what this guy is saying, what he said so far, he said, like, and mind you, he also speaks Tigrinya, but in the Tigray dialect. So even the way that he speaks Tigrinya is a giveaway that he comes from Tigray. But what he's showing them is his ID card. I can't see, it looks like it's a Swedish ID card. And he's saying, look, my ID card says I'm Eritrean. Look at this one. And the back of it, at the bottom of it, it says that Eritrea on it. Let's continue watching.
سوق لك الله سوق بل سير اسمعني أودي سوق لا أودن لك الله أودن قيتها
إيش
حاجة أنا بزي وسير لهم من إيرترا وسير لهم أنت أخي قبريو تو أنا قرس أنت هتقبرتي بزعبة زي الزارب ذول تقرويسي بإيرترا وسير كذا ولا خسي وسير له أنا عودت كنا ركان أنت أخي قبر أودي لناتي شو ميريا أنت أخي قبر باخاتكم جوب سنتر كنكد باخاتكم فقدوا مايجرانت هيلب كنكيد كنت ترجموا لكم بالإنجليزية مكراز ولا عنا سواسي أنت أخي مزارب ذولهم ده هتقبر تتقوري أخي كافتي منجز خير كهتطلع على كان برنامج تقرويكم زي كهزارة ونقيد حسن بوز غفر حي مثلك نتم تقارن نتم فرح تقارنهم ولو
Okay, so let me just roughly translate, even though it is a bit sometimes difficult for me to understand Tigrinya. But apparently, this is a continuation of a conversation where I guess he was the question of whether or not he's from Tigray, or even if he would go to do things in the name of Eritrea or Tigray. It seems to be some point of contestation. And he is telling basically the person he was talking before, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? Okay, because of this Eritrean, because I'm considered Eritrean, I have to go around to, the job center, the migration board to seek help, because, technically I'm considered Eritrean here, but in fact I'm from Tigray. Let's listen to it a little bit more.
دقيقة خريكة صبوا غير دقيقة خريكة رأي فوتي ناتي رأي ناتي عاد خري إرتراوي ده هتقبر رأي افتباك رأي صبوا غير كإرتراز ولا رأي ده هتقبر تتقور وانا غير هتقبر تخل سواء انت ما كانت تتقور ولا غير هتقبر تخل طرح بس حاسب فريد مالتي كل زي كوناسي فيديو متين غير كلهم أبي له فريكة عادك خريكة عادين جزء لخنا ركب برمنغهام لهم ولا حتى تقوروا يدخلوا تمام تقوروا أنا معك إرتراويان مسايك خدوا خلوا نحكم إن أنا أقول لك خلوا إرترا خبل كله إرترا خبل نعم تقوروا عندي تقوروا يقول لهم له ونحن كو هم حري يمكن يزولون بركلا هذا برو.
Okay, so I thought he was from Sweden because the way that he talked about but no, actually he says he's from Birmingham. Yeah, he lives in Birmingham. And he even talks about when he goes to, like, places to get services, he ends up saying, like, even when it comes to, like, translation services, they need some translation services. But he talks about how even when he meets with other Eritreans in these places, they say to him, like, oh, are you even Eritrean though? I thought you were from Tigray. And he says, yes, I am from Tigray. Like, let me just.
تقولوا عندي ولا حتى تقوروا يدخلوا تمام تقوروا أنا معات إرتراويان مسايك خدو خلو نحكمنا أنا أقول خارج كله إرترا خبل كله إرترا ولا خبل نعم تقرأ ولا ملا.
Yeah, so when he goes to places where there's to the hospital or whatever, to the clinic, and there's other Eritrean there, they say like, oh, aren't you like from, yeah, aren't you from Tigray? Because he says like he's from Eritrea, and then he says to them that he's from Tigray. So this is the type of situation that we're really talking about here. They've been able to basically steal the Eritrean identity because it was convenient for them to, seek asylum as such. But even the Eritreans around them know that they're from Tigray. And this guy has been so bold to talk about, I'm a little bit lost on the context, but he's saying to the guy that he was speaking to, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Yeah. My ID card says Eritrean. The British issued cards, mind you. But it's like, no, even the Eritreans know that I'm from Tigray.
Yeah,
So
the challenge was actually the challenge was actually towards Eritreans, because the context of it is he was talking to other Tigrayans who were saying, well, there are people who have obtained, who've got Eritrean IDs, even though they're Tigrayans, etc. And this guy was saying to them, so what? And here I am, there's my card. What are Eritrean people going to do about it? They know about it. And even though it was maybe an Eritrean caseworker that helped him. I mean, this is like a familiar story that you hear. I think, we have to admit that many Eritreans, I suppose in the spirit of brotherhood, did help out a lot of Tigrayans with obtaining Eritrean IDs in order to claim status in the West. Some of them going as far as providing them with Eritrean addresses in terms of getting letters back from Eritrea in order to help prove that they're actually Eritrean. So we know this. It's no mystery. The formal way of tackling this, to answer somebody's question, is it has to be done with the help of the Eritrean government, because a person's identification or citizenship can only be affirmed by the country that you originally came from. So interestingly, in Germany, off the back of a case in Stuttgart, where a guy was convicted for the riots in Stuttgart, the Minister of Justice is working super hard to get this person deported, and he's identified himself as Eritrean, so to be deported back to Eritrea. Now, Eritrea doesn't accept deportees unless they willingly want to go to Eritrea, but otherwise they're forced deportation. So they're working really hard around the situation in order how to get around it. So yeah, I mean, that guy was holding up an immigration ID card with all of the details very visible on screen. So yeah, his challenge was taken up and he was reported according to those details that he provided on screen, because it was really visible with his real name, the ID card, where it was issued, etc. So whatever moment of arrogance he decided to do that, it's noticed. So he issued a challenge, and we'll be more than happy to take up that challenge. It's all right. But it's they say it's no, and when we say with Brigade and Hamadou, when you were showing the flag outside, it's very interesting how they are so obsessed with Tigray more than the Tigrayans are. I think they carry the Tigray flag, that TPLF, more than the Tigrayans do. And I don't understand, and I don't think it's just down to, oh, we want peace with our neighbors, etc. Not at the cost of your identification. Nobody identifies as German, as an English person, just because they want to be in solidarity with the Germans. See what I mean? So, for instance, let's take it during World War I or World War II, any of those wars. Nobody would step out of their own ID unless, for some reason, you don't think you are Eritrean, and and that's your choice. People nowadays can identify as whatever they want to be, but, just leave Eritrea out of it, because it's nothing to do with Eritrea, ultimately what you're about. If you're identifying as somebody Tigrayans, or saying Tigray Tawet, or very much about the Tigrayan cause and being more Tigrayan than Tigrayans are, then what's Eritrea got to do with you? That bit is very puzzling. And most of the people within Brigade and Hamadou seem to carry that ideology of, Tigray at the forefront and all that sort of stuff, and idealizing Tigrayan, be it Tigrayan women or songs or this and that. It was like, great, good for you. But so, You know, what's Eritrea got to? Why are you using Eritrea as an excuse? And not only that, but bashing Eritrea and Eritreans. It really doesn't make any sense.
As there was an interesting question on the screen. Why German authorities or big media is not touching this subject. I think it's because it would reveal a lot of, you know, mistakes, or it would just leave more questions than answers. You said you can hear it that he is from Tigray. He's speaking Tigrinya. I cannot hear that. So because I don't have an ear for that. And you imagine people sitting at the where they decide if you can have asylum or not. They just did not check. You know, there was a big crisis from 2013 up to now, where they could not really identify people. They could tell them basically everything, and there was policy that everyone who can like say, or everyone who says he's from Eritrea, there was no really check in if he's really from Eritrea. If you speak Tigrinya or if you speak Arabic, so this is something that they don't want the public to know, that they made such big mistakes. And I think this is the reason for the cover-up. But you know, time has come, and we have no other reasons or no other options to lay the cards down now and point the finger exactly where it hurts. So we are getting there, and it will be, it will cause a lot of questions more than answers first, regarding the system and why and what happened and so
on. Marta, do you recall? I wish I had prepared the tweet or the article that came out, and I'm trying to remember if it was actually in Sweden or in Germany. But a woman who had, I think it was in Germany, a woman had put in the application for the protests to happen that ended up in violence. It was later found out that she was from Tigray. Was that in Germany?
Yeah. Yes, right. She was the one. She's claiming otherwise now. She says she's Eritrean, or something like that. But the fact that she is not Eritrean, she's a Tigrayan, and she probably grew up in Eritrea, but she identifies herself as Eritrean opposition. But this article was published at Junge Welt. And she's very open opposition, and she belongs to the Plan A group. So this is also an interesting fact. Yeah, there was German. It was in a German article. Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't have it handy. But we
can. I just realized that I should have had it like on hand so we could show it, because we do have receipts for all the things that we're saying. Their evidence is really out there. And I'm thinking maybe we should have more discussions like this in the future, especially as new receipts come in. We have plenty of old ones, but you know, we don't know what the future really looks like or how this violence is going to be stopped. So as we start rounding to end this discussion for today, can we talk a little bit about what is next in terms of these violence attacks? And then also, I want us to also talk about how Brigada Hamadu has felt empowered and emboldened by various individuals as well.
I want to say something about their attempt to kind of rebrand themselves. I don't know if you have seen it, But Biene Geresgier, member of Bright Future and Brigade Hamidou, was invited into the European Parliament and to speak there. So they're trying to portray themselves now as good citizens, right? They cause all the damage, and then they are invited into the parliament to give speeches there. I think the future is that they will try to, you know, they don't speak to the community. They're now focusing on finding a way to explain it to the non-Eritrean community, in my view. They have now a new strategy in calling the Eritrean government Russian-backed, the Eritrean people in the diaspora anti-West. So this is just a way to gain sympathy. So they are trying to rebrand themselves and make people forget about their violent character. I think this is something that is coming, and we have to keep on putting things into a context. And you know, all we have to do is just basically tell everything that is out in the public and help people to see and connect the dots. That's all we have to do, and just keep on telling that because they're really miscalculated. But I think the next steps for them is to position themselves as good citizens and in line with the policies in European countries, foreign policies, and so on. I think this is what they're trying to do now.
What's next? I think what's next for the community is, I would say that we can only get stronger from here. And I think from the community's perspective is that we need to be a little bit more organized, a little bit more coordinated, not just locally, but internationally as well. So the sharing of information, the coordination of effort is very important. I think keeping not necessarily a good relationship, but keeping this attitude with the police whereby you have to demand that you have the right to peaceful assembly, because essentially everything that's happening with Brigade Hamidou, in essence, we're the target, but ultimately what their fight is about is a fight against freedom of expression and freedom of assembly. So if you see what happened after The Hague, the immediate response from Benegresger and all those people was, surely Holland needs to reconsider the freedom of assembly. Yes, why don't we do that? That's a great idea. Just for who? For Brigade Hamidou? It's not going to happen. So essentially, that's what they're reacting against, the right that is established in UN convention and domestically within every country. So good luck to them on that basis. So, but for us as a community, what we have to do is that we have to be able to demand for our rights with the police, basically saying to the police, well, how are you protecting our events? What are you doing about Brigade Hamidou? You've already seen the history of criminality is here. You've got to keep the pressure, yeah, because they have to do something about it. They can't wait for death. They can't wait for the level of violence that, for instance, they saw in The Hague. I mean, interestingly, for that, the person that they arrested who was ultimately responsible in terms of promoting it is somebody that they knew about a year ago, that they had insights on, not only within Holland, but also in Germany. You know, a year later, he comes back and burns the city, and now they've taken it very seriously and establishing an investigation. It's that kind of delay that might cause us as a community frustration, and ultimately we don't want anybody from the community to be hurt as a result of these people. So that's why a little bit of awareness within our community is important. As for them, you know, I think they're going to try every trick under the book, but they're not reading the room is the best way of saying it. I think for them, thinking that they're going to get some kind of like political gain out of this, either through their arguments about transnational oppression or whatever it is, or, you know, with these events, they do this and that, don't go to it. You mean you've got the choice, you're actually going to it, it's not coming to you, because, you know, you're going out of your way to find a venue that you've not been invited to. So where's the argument about that you're being dragged to go to these places if you're having to look for it? It just doesn't make sense. So once it comes down to the most important stuff, which is a proper investigation as it's happening in Holland, legal cases as they're happening, the more there's going to be an insight into what's actually happening here. And that's going to come. And regardless how they rebrand themselves, how they try and put that into context, as in their violence into context, is just not going to sit very well into, particularly in Europe, which is becoming a bit more far right, where these kind of behaviors are not legally, because, you know, from a law and order point of view, it's not going to be tolerated. And as to the question, I think we were going to mention about the enablers. Yes, they do have enablers, and these enablers are self-serving at the end of the day. They have their own personal interests in this, whether it's about producing books, whether it's about their status, whether it's about their NGOs. It's not necessarily just about Eritrea, it's about these people. They are the people that are giving these violent actors a license, whether they like it or not. And I think they're doing it with the best intention? No. I don't think these are people who are fighting for so-called human rights. I don't think they're even in that position to be doing so, because their interpretation of what's happening is based on another interpretation, because they don't speak the language. They have no ability to compare and contrast what their sources say. So where is your information comes from? How are you an expert into an area where you can't even compare and contrast? So, and as one of them said, and I think this is the funniest one a few years back, which is, you know, I think somebody asked him, this is during the Tigray conflict, how does he get his information and whether he thinks that source is reliable? And he goes, yeah, well, you know, I have my sources, and if they're good, I will use them. If they're bad, I'll never use them again. But ultimately, whether that information I get is reliable or not, or true or not, I haven't got the foggiest idea. So, you know, that kind of like sums it up about these enablers and the levels they're going through in order to get at a community. And you know, I would call them the blood-sucking parasite, ultimately, because they're in it for their own self-interest and for that book and that NGO money that's going to come out of breaking apart a community.
Definitely. I do have a video. You were referring to, his name is Johannes, I forget his last name, but he's commonly known as John Black, and he is a man that's currently in jail in Holland for inciting violence there. And you said that he was found to, we have actual, I mean, I don't have it ready today, but we do have video of him, in fact, being at that first, you know, the video I showed where the kids were, you know, in terror, trying to protect themselves from inside. He was at that Gießen events to terrorize and inflict violence. He was at Stockholm last summer, leading the group, and in fact, I will not talking about the language barrier. So there was actually a clip that came out. So sometime after the rioting had calmed down, I don't know, I was stuck inside the festival area for hours. But there was a clip that was circulating where I think they had gathered them, which was looked like in front of like either like a basketball court or whatever. They were in the seats where, you know, fans would usually sit. It was like a community basketball or soccer field, basketball court or soccer field. And there's the police on the side, like just trying to make sure these people sit in this area. And they have John Black talking in the front. And he's basically, because the police do not understand a word of Tigrinya, they do not understand that he is saying that they're going to make sure that if the festival continues, right? If it's not shut down, then they would come back back the next day. Next time when we have this discussion, I'm going to make sure to bring that video and show you guys the receipt, show you the evidence, because what I'm saying is absolutely true. Now, let's look at this clip real quick. This is John Black. I know it's small, you can't read the English subtitles, but we will translate what he says to you.
ويانا أبيض رأتيو كساسب تقرطة دمسب تسته إنسب تقرطة تانكسا جيرو نتا أوزل نتا تفرسو ميدن سالاسان جيرو ولا ميكرون مسايد جيرو نتا كل سبشن الله رأس عسمرة تبان عاد هذا بدنا بدأ تغيروا أنا هو راح نحامي زوجك.
Okay, so basically what he's saying is if Wayana, the TPLF, Tigray People's Liberation Front, gets into Eritrea and wreak chaos, wreak havoc, that even if they would cut off the heads of the people, shed their blood, cut off their hands, destroy their buildings with tanks, annihilate them by a nuclear bomb, that he would basically celebrate. And he expressed that through beating a drum of celebration. I'm going to show you some other clips as well. This one, just give me 1 second. So this project of kind of emboldening, empowering these type of groups is not something new. It's been happening for quite a while now. Please let me share this clip. So this person name is Martin Plaut, and I believe, Fevin, remind me, when was this video taken?
This was maybe 2020, just before the start of the COVID pandemic, where there is an opposition group here called Eritrea Focus, and they had an annual convention. And this is where he was talking about the media and how to attract the media's attention. So
let's hear it from his own mouth, what he had to say.
We need to make the news. And this is not as difficult as it sounds, but it is really important. So you're manufacturing the news, but you need to think of the angle. Do not go and have another demonstration outside the Eritrean embassy unless you're going to burn it down.
Yeah, this is actually a bit shorter version. Well, he even goes on to say, talk about various news channels that that should be targeted, that they're thirsty for news. And then that people should make news by actually burning down the embassy. Let me show you this tweet real quick. Please share the screen. So the woman in this picture, she is sitting next to, please share the technicians. It's not, yes. So yeah, so the woman here, her name is Åsa Nilsson, and she's a member of the Swedish Liberal Party. In the middle here is Bene, the leader of the both Bright Future and Brigada Hamadou. And she basically sponsored for them to have a meeting. Some things that we need to, I want this to hit home for all viewers. Bene Geresger does not live in Scandinavia. He is not a legal resident in Scandinavia. He's not a citizen in Scandinavia. I don't know what his legal status is, but he lives in the Netherlands, okay? He has been able to come to Sweden, and there's been a Swedish politician who has provided him venue to have meetings where he would mobilize the people that would inflict this violence. I'm going to share something else real quick. Please allow me to share this tweet. So so Åsa Nilsson, a member of the Swedish Liberal Party, she is not only forged strong connections with Bene Geresger, who is not a resident or citizen of Sweden. You can see them in this picture together, smiling, looking like they're the best of buddies. This right here is a screenshot of Bene Geresger. You can't see the Tigrinya directly, but as you can see, he has provided a location and has pinged it, or using Google Maps, on a Facebook post dated February 17. This is the location of the attack that was made in The Hague. So this politician has been in bed in cahoots with the guy that was in charge, who had mobilized to the point where he pinned the location and posted it online, so that people can go attack innocent people at this opera house. So that's how really deep this whole thing goes. I also did want to share this video of the same thing is happening in Norway, and I think hold on. Can we take take a quick look at this picture? So I don't know the exact details of the politician that is in there, but he is also in cahoots with Brigade Hamadou. As you can see, he has it's the old Eritrean flag, the Federation flag that they has donned as their own flag, even though this is an Eritrean flag, an older Eritrean flag that symbolizes the time when Eritrea was federated to Ethiopia, and also during the Liberation War. I really would like to know if, I mean, these are just, you know, in my opinion, ragtag politicians who are in bed with this terrorist group. But is it now a type of stance on the part of Sweden and Germany and in other places that they do not recognize Eritrea, that they would have no problem being pictured with this old Eritrean flag, and also with people that are connected to this type of violence? I think this is really the type of thing that we need to not only take into consideration, but really ask the questions, and continue the struggle for really just peace of mind, that our communities would be protected, that we would ask these questions, and also confront these people. For a long time, they have been empowering, emboldening this type of violence that has spread across Europe, that includes the migration of people across borders to commit violence, right? Because that's what happened in The Hague. They weren't just people that lived. They weren't asylum seekers in the Netherlands. They came from Germany. They came from Belgium, right? Same thing happened in Germany. We know that they came from, from other places. Same thing in Sweden. I saw video where, the people, I mean, I would hear them speak German. As they were attacking the Stockholm Festival, they speak in German. You knew they were coming from. We know that, in fact, they have organized busloads of people to inflict this type of violence. So in the future, in the very short future, starting tomorrow, we should be able to, really ask and confront these politicians with questions and ask, what are you doing? The tens of thousands of Eritreans that are participating in these events not only have the right to participate in these events, they are tax-paying citizens, tax-paying legal residents of these countries who have not inflicted any violence on any. They must also be able to ask themselves, okay, when Brigade Hamadou organizes their own conferences, right, their own events, why are they not being confronted by so-called, Eritrean government supporters? Why is there no violence happening in there? Why is there no violence happening or attacks happening in the events organized by people that come from northern Ethiopia, from Tigray? It's because this is very targeted. If you have any last comments to say, we do have to wrap up our very interesting discussion.
I was just going to add that you're quite right about that, and it's quite interesting. Those politicians have all something in common, which they are all liberal politicians, and their main argument with this is, off the back of what I said to you earlier at the beginning about what they say about these events and what happens there, that people dragged from their house, and once they're there, they're forced to dance and watch, reenactments. So that sounds like a good time to me, but hey. So it's they're all liberals, and there's a question of an offense to all of this. Oh, it's offensive. These people don't share our values because of where they come from. They come from a country where there's a dictatorship, so therefore, and it's almost like the flip side, because nowadays we're living in a flip side where the liberals are more anti-immigrants than the people who are on the far right. And it's really interesting that it comes from these people under the guise of, we're promoting human rights, but But when it comes to these migrants, we don't like them because they don't share our values, and these are our values. And if you don't fit in it, then you've got no space here. What happened to the freedom of assembly? What happened to democratic values, which says everybody's got the right to expression, everybody's got right to assembly, everybody's allowed to be who they want to be. But it's interesting when it comes to the Eritrean context, all of that, it just seems to go out the window for these so-called liberals politicians. As a last parting words, I would just say that from our community's perspective, because I'm more interested in our communities than what these other peoples are going to do, is that we shouldn't be dissuaded with what's happening. We do need to be strong and really resolved in our unity. That's very important. And I would say get legal, which means that try and put your effort behind as many legal avenues as there can be, because that's very, very, very important. But you know, aside from that, it will run its course, because all of this is built on a bed of lies. And then once you look underneath, and which is what's going to come through with different governments looking into the situation, finding out exactly who's attacking who, what's happening, and it's all coming to light now, and all of this will come to light. So it's, you know, the future is bright, I would say, but it's something that's worth of a study, I would say, because it's an interesting phenomena.
It is. It's going to be really an interesting case study, and I I have hope because the Dutch Parliament is investigating this, and I hope the Germans will follow. It takes some courageous politicians to unravel this complexity, and we are ready, and we are already, you know, we have started. We will continue. This is something that we will not let go. They just crossed the line way too much, we are not going to stop. So yeah, this is just something.
Yeah.
You know, we will we have already started, and we will continue.
Yeah, no, it's not fakara. It's not the type of a boasting, and I think it's very, especially to the young Eritreans out there who are willing and able to be part of this legal fight to protect our communities. Make sure you you reach out to the Eritrean community in your area. There's so many ways that you can help and contribute, especially if you are able to give, like if you're a lawyer by trade, you know, you can give legal advice, but also we need writers, you know, we need people to, you know, present the evidence. I know there's been some talk around our community about, oh, like where are the, you know, where are the educated people in our community? Like, what are they doing? Why aren't they doing anything? And I want to just take this moment to reassure them that just because things are not plastered over social media, you know, that it's not being discussed openly on TikTok or Facebook, that doesn't mean that things are not happening. Now, the style of the Eritrean diaspora community that has been uh, organizing peaceful festivals for decades, even before Eritrea became an independent country, they've always done so in legal ways. It's always been peaceful until this violence that we've seen in the last couple of years. There is that structure, and it is not then our style to wreak havoc, to promote violence, or to you know, radicalize young people the way that Brigade Hamidou is doing. So I think, yeah, I think they should feel really, they should feel sure that there are people, there are community members, there are community groups that are going through the legal channels to make sure that this violence stops once for all. And it is our duty then to make sure that we contribute to this, and to do this is to contact the Eritrean community. Thank you, young women, for an excellent discussion, a very timely, topical discussion on this wonderful day, International Women's Day. I truly appreciate not just your contribution for today's show, but also what you've been doing for a very long time, right? As proud Eritreans, as proud members of the Eritrean diaspora community. And it just shows that you have truly embraced the legacy of your foremothers who have literally participated in an armed struggle, not just for the independence of their country, not just for the emancipation of their people, but for the emancipation of women, to make sure that through their equal participation, that they will have equal rights. And you are indeed the result of that. So thank you so much. I really love that I can call you my sisters and comrades, and I hope we do this again soon.
Thank you, Rahela.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rahel.
Yeah, so for the audience, make sure to like, share, and to subscribe this excellent discussion through all your social media. This is the Horn Politics, where we also have a platform on Clubhouse. Most of the discussion is done in Tigrinya. We chose to do this program today in English so that it could reach a wider audience. Eritreans and non-Eritreans. We know that there's plenty of Eritreans out there who are not very well versed in Tigrinya or any of the other 9 indigenous national languages in Eritrea. So, make sure to like, subscribe, also send us comments, send us feedback. And if you want to see more programs like this, just let us know in the comment section. Wishing you a very blessed International Women's Day.
To you.
Victory to the masses.
تفتير داغماي سمكنديو عدي بتري ابي كوينو طلالكي سسينو انه خديلو عدي بلولي الرمع عري سناي زبنا خصمدللي سمال حليمي وخب معدو لوميري ميدرو عادي بلولي الرمع عري سناي زبنا خصم بللي سمال حليمي وخب معدو لوميري ايوه عكد ميدرو